Hey everybody, Ellen here. I am meal prepping right now, and I figure since I'm doing it, I'm gonna kind of walk you through what I do and how I go about meal prepping. I think for anybody really, for students, for moms, really anybody who wears multiple hats, meal prepping is such a good idea if you want to start eating healthier because it makes all of the healthy food really accessible to you. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through in this video what I do, how I go about the process, and give you some ideas. So I also really wanted to talk about why I feel like it's important to prioritize meal prep. I feel like I hear a lot of people say I don't have time to meal prep. And I don't necessarily buy that because think of all the things that you do over the weekend, just normal things around the house. You know, we do our laundry, we clean. In the fall, the majority of us are watching football on Sundays. And I feel like all of those things are things you can couple with meal prep, and that's exactly what I do. So if it were fall right now, I'd probably have some football going on in the other room. I have my laundry going downstairs on our little coin-operated laundry machines right now. So I'm watching The Holiday, if you can see it over there, just to keep myself entertained while some of this is going. I have homework that I'm planning on due later in the afternoon. All of those things, you can do all of them together. So while I wait for my laundry to finish, I'm cooking. While I'm gonna wait for something to bake later today, I'll be working on some homework. I definitely don't feel like you have an excuse to not meal prep if you do all of these other things. If you're doing laundry, if your kids are napping, meal prep. If you're watching a football game, you can meal prep while you watch the football game. You don't necessarily have to see all of the action. And I know that sounds, yes I do. I'm a football fan too. I love me some Seahawks football. But guess what? You don't have to see every play that goes down, and all the great plays, there's gonna be a replay. So you can cook while you watch stuff on TV. You can cook while you watch football. I definitely think it's something that can be coupled with all these other things that we do over the weekend. So the first thing that I really do when I meal prep, it starts on Saturday, is I plan out the meals for my week. So here I've been using the 22-minute hardcore rations manual, and they've actually got some great recipe ideas in the back here. Let's see if I can find them. So I go through and I pick out super graceful, which recipes I want to make that week, and I figure out what foods I do and do not have, and I make my list. I then put this list into my phone, so when I go to the grocery store, I know exactly what I need, and there's no risk of me leaving this paper behind because I bring my phone with me really everywhere. So then Sunday morning, I get to meal prepping. So what I'm doing here is I'm making spinach and egg. It's supposed to be spinach and egg omelets, but to make things easier for me, I'm actually going to make a sort of quiche. So I've been pre-portioning out my spinach, cutting my fresh spinach over here and putting it in the pan. And then this is served with steel cut oats. So I've got my steel cut oats cooking as well. So I really want to talk about this quiche that I'm making though, because the quiche, it's supposed to be a spinach omelet, but for me, the amount of time I have in the morning, making an omelet every morning isn't really practical. So making the quiche is a good thing that I can prep ahead of time and still get the food groups that I want in my breakfast food. So that's an example of how you can tweak a recipe to make it work for you so that it takes less time in your morning or in your evening, and gives you something that you can actually prep ahead of time. So now I have about 6 cups of spinach and 12 eggs in this pan here. So I'm gonna cook that on the stovetop for a little bit, really until the outside edges begin to set, and then I'm gonna bake it for about 30 minutes, basically until it's set at 350 degrees in the oven. Meanwhile, I also have my steel cut oats going right here. Oops, sorry, I missed it a little bit there. And so I'll let those go until they've really absorbed all of the water. Usually it takes about 25 minutes, but I want them to be a little bit thinner than ideally how they would be when I would eat them, because they will thicken up as they sit in the refrigerator over time. So that's just 2 of the things that I prep. So that's going to be my breakfast right there. So I'm also prepping some of the veggies that will serve as a side for my lunch. So I'm making a spicy honey mustard veggie burger with a side of pepper slices and jicama, and that's jicama for those of you that don't know. I've never made it before, so this is going to be an adventure, but I know that I'm going to want to eat it in slices, so I'm going to go ahead and slice it up right now. If you're working with something you've never worked with before, like jicama, I have never worked with before, Google. We are a very blessed generation in that we have the internet to teach us how to prep things, if we need to cook them, and if we don't need to cook them, how to go ahead and store them. So I went and Googled how to deal with jicama since I have never done it before. So I'm also prepping that. So something that I also do is I prep all of my fruits and veggies. The first thing I do is I spray them with this wash called Eat Cleaner. You just spray all of your produce, leave it on for a couple minutes, and then rinse them off. So I've got my kale, which I'm going to use for my kale salads, and then as I already showed you, my strawberries. So I'll wash everything with that, and then I'll get to prepping it. So then to prep all this stuff, all I do for my strawberries is I cut the tops off and I cut them into strips, so then I can just portion out the strawberries and add them to the top of my oatmeal in the morning for breakfast. And then for my kale, I just pre-shred it. So then when I'm making my kale salads for dinner, all I have to do is portion out as much as I need and give it a quick little boil. Since kale is, I like it better when it's a little bit flash boiled. It's softer. It's not nearly as hard to chew. And also, just a note on kale, for those of you that think eating healthy is expensive, this whole bowl, so this is a pretty substantial bowl, like look compared to my pot right there, that bowl costs 89 cents. It's 1 bushel of kale and it costs 89 cents, and it's 89 cents year round. So that is like the veggie for my dinners all week, and it was 89 cents. So just a note there. So then here is all of the food that I prepped. So we've got my spinach and egg omelet for breakfast that I'm going to eat with steel cut oats and strawberries. I also have a shake for breakfast and or a snack, and that's not pictured here. So then I've got hummus that I'll have for a snack with some romaine, which I already have in my refrigerator. Then I've got lunch. Lunch is a little bit of elaborate. So lunch is going to be a veggie burger with a spicy honey mustard sauce, which is right there, which I whipped up a little bit ago. So a lot of components to that one, so it's a little bit more elaborate. And then dinner is our kale salads with some cumin sauteed tempeh. I'm eating a little vegetarian this week for no particular reason. But yeah, that is all of the food that I just prepped. So I am officially done meal prepping this morning, and I just checked the time and it hasn't even been 2 hours. I do have days where I do more elaborate meal prepping and it takes a little bit longer, but all of that food that I just showed you, I prepped in about 2 hours, under 2 hours. So it's really not that big of a time commitment to do. I'm still waiting for my laundry to finish, but I just wanted to give you an idea of a visual representation of what I do, how I go about this whole process. And I basically take it meal by meal and prep anything that I can prep, do anything that I can do to make my life easier. So one thing I did want to say, and if you have my meal prep handbook, which you can get as for free when you sign up on my website, on that freemium, I say something that's really, really important. If you are new to meal prep, I do not suggest you do everything that I just do. I think it'll be overwhelming, and I think that it will maybe turn you against meal prep. What I suggest you do is take it step by step. Start with small pieces of it and start building it into your routine. What I suggest to start with is the meal that you think is going to make the biggest impact on de-stressing you. So if you get home, or on your bank account, so if you get home and dinner is a really stressful meal for you and you don't know, like you always end up just buying food, or you never know what to make or whatever, then prep your dinner. If lunch is a difficult meal for you and you always end up going out and buying something that's unhealthy or whatever, prep lunch. Start with whatever meal you think is going to make the biggest impact in your life, and then go on from there. So that's all I've got for you today in terms of my meal prep. I hope this was a helpful video, and again, if you haven't gotten my meal prep freemium, my how-to guide on my website, I will link you to that in the description below. I hope you have an awesome Sunday, and I will talk to you a little later. Bye!